Can you see my screen?
Yes.
No. Kritika, you were in the last class, right? Yeah, you may be unmute if you're talking. Okay. Yeah, last class.
Yes, Shrikant. I attended last class.
Okay, good. So last class we talked about the import. I mean how we can load the data into Salesforce, and also how we can extract the data. So basically, we talked about multiple tools that can support these data loader activities. So one is the import wizard. If the data is less than 50,000 records that we want to load, and typically we can use import wizard. So this is going to be available within Salesforce setup. And then, so we also looked at data loader. So this is a client application that we need to install on local machine, and then we can load the data. And usually, so there are little bit of permissions that we need to give for the user who is running the data loader. One is API enabled and those kind of permissions. So once we have those, and if the user has object access and the proper access to load the records or update the records, so they can use the data loader. And then we also looked at, briefly looked at Postman. So this is another client application that we can use. And Postman is mainly used industry-wise for testing the REST services. But Postman, since Salesforce has a lot of APIs enabled, available, we can potentially use Postman also to do the data loader. And also we looked at Workbench. So if we want to load the data into Salesforce, or maybe do some little bit of testing for admins, so they can use Workbench. And so we also looked at a small Chrome extension, so that we can typically use it for writing the queries and all. So that is little dynamic one. So Salesforce from the Chrome browser. Chrome extension. So that is very helpful for admins. And yeah, then we looked at mass transfers. So if at all one employee leave the company, how we can do the mass transfer of accounts and activities, open activities and opportunities, those kind of stuff. So we can simply access from the Salesforce setup. We can select, we can give small query. So like, okay, who is the user, and who is the new user going to be for those records. And finally, we looked at the backing up data. So we can potentially weekly data. So there is a data export service that Salesforce offers, but we can write it only for weekly once. If there are business needs for companies to back up the data on nightly basis, it is the enterprise responsibility to do the exports and also getting it ready for imports whenever there is a disaster situation happens. So those are the things that we looked at for the data point of view. So various tools and what are all the various things that Salesforce offers. And so for backing up data, so if at all the enterprise can't write their own stuff, backing up the data into their on-prem servers or maybe AWS or maybe any cloud space. So they can also use some App Exchange partners. So then you have to pay money to those guys, and potentially you can leverage the services of those. And then finally, so if at all we want to delete any data, so potentially you can use either data loader or maybe the Workbench or Postman. So you have those options. We did not talk about that, but the same APIs. So you select delete operation, and you should be able to delete as long as the user has delete access. And once the data is deleted, Salesforce keeps it in the recycle bin for 15 days. And once that time frame is over, so Salesforce will completely remove it. And meanwhile, when so let's say you deleted some data by accident, you always have an option to restore the data. So as long as the data is not gone from the recycle bin. So sometimes if at all we do any mass activities to delete the data, it's always better to remove it from recycle bin if we are very sure that that is the data we don't need it. So usually if we are writing some apex to delete the data, you have to pass some extra parameters so that it can permanently delete it from the system. And even for data loader stuff, so you can set some parameters on the data loader side, and then it will be able to delete it permanently from the system. And it is not really ideal to keep a lot of data in the recycle bin. So that's why if there are business requirements to delete the data, so it is our job to check with business, okay, are you sure you don't need any backup of this? And if they confirm it, it's better to completely remove it. So those are the things we talked in the last class. So today's class, so let's talk about reports and dashboards. And any transactions or any even master data. So whenever business is working on it, so usually the employees who would work on it, the managers, directors, and the VPs, they want to know how the business is performing. So this is the Salesforce out of the box dashboards and reports will really help it. I mean, if the volume is too high, obviously Salesforce can't handle that kind of huge volumes. But if it is a manager, so who wants to look at, okay, how is my team is doing? So potentially he or she as a manager may have 10 or 20 or at the most maybe 15 reports in a typical scenario. And if the team is creating like maybe 10 opportunities each month or maybe even each day, and that is kind of manageable data. So we can write reports and we can write dashboards and they can check those reports. And there are various options writing reports and dashboards. So let's get into those. And obviously, whenever we need to run a report, obviously admins will create reports and we will hand it over to the business to run. But in typical scenarios, business also should be able to write reports, and other than, I mean, coming to admin team to write a report. And it is very common for businesses to have a business admin, and those guys will write reports so that they don't have to go to the admin for this kind of thing. And we need to give a little bit of permissions for people who wants to run reports and people who wants to write reports. So when I say write reports, creating reports, and when I say running, so as an end user, so you just execute a report, and you see the data. And as you are running the data, so on the reports and the dashboards obviously, so you can show some visual representation. For reports, you have multiple options. So we will go through those in a little bit. And so the place where you create all these reports is called report builder. So, and also for reports, when you are writing the reports, you can sometimes the business says, okay, hey, show me only reports that are created this year, maybe that are closing the opportunities that are closing this month or maybe this fiscal year kind of thing. And also they may say, okay, group these reports by the stage and those kind of requirements that we will typically get. And the summarizing reports, I mean, you have few formulas you can also create on the report level, not only the formula fields that you can create on the object level that we have seen earlier. And when we are writing reports, I mean, if you want to give little different colors for the charts, you can do that. And also once you run the reports, I mean, sometimes business is going to meet a customer, and if they want to show how that customer is doing with our company, so potentially you can write a report specific to that customer. and open opportunities and those kind of things. So they can have it handy. Here's month. So sometimes if you want to send reports in the email, so you can also do that, and you can schedule reports and you get notifications based on how you schedule those. And also, I mean, at the end, so to have a dashboard, you have to have reports first. And so up to 20 reports, you can add it to a dashboard. Yeah, so when we are writing reports, there are multiple options from Salesforce. Every time, I mean, as we have seen, so accounts, contacts, opportunities, those are all standard objects. And when we get the system, so Salesforce already created some reports for us. So those are called standard reports. And on top of that, even though it is a standard object, if we want to write our own custom reports, we can always go write reports. Those are called reports. And sometimes I mean, for every report you need to you want to write, you need a template kind of thing that is called report type. And so if the report type is not available or maybe not meeting your requirements, you can always go write some report types and expose the fields that you want. So that will give you more options to write reports. And then when you are writing reports, obviously you can show the data in the form of tabular format, or if you want to summarize reports like, okay, I want to see data based on some employee, you can do the summary level. And also sometimes if you want to see rows and columns grouped by, so that is called matrix one. And as I said, so you can always write some formula fields on the report level, and also they have something called bucket fields. So those are other options that we can create on the report level. And especially from a dashboard point of view, so there are two types of dashboards. One is static dashboards, and the other one is dynamic dashboard. When we create a report, dashboard, so you have to say who is the running user. So let's say if we say a report, all the reports are written in such a way that, okay, it is filtered by my team and those things. And as let's say there are 10 employees working under me, and those guys, when individuals run those reports, they will see only their data. And whereas when I run those same report or same dashboard, if I create a dynamic dashboard, immediately I can see, I have the option to see immediately all the 10 users. And so as a manager, I can see all 10 users report data at one time. And let's say I have a peer manager who manages another 10 people, and there is another, I mean, there is a peer manager for me who is counterpart, and then we both report to a director. Let's assume that scenario. And then the director, when he runs the same dashboard, basically he should be able to see the my team's data and also my counterpart's data, because he is managing both of our teams. So at that time, this dynamic dashboard comes very handy. You just write one dashboard, but same dashboard will be used for whoever is running. Based on the running user, it shows the data. So that is very powerful. I mean, especially whereas if you have to do that, if you have to write multiple dashboards and all, it is time taking, and also you are potentially duplicating the effort. So that's where those things will come very handy. And the dynamic dashboards, so Salesforce by default gives only like maybe 15 or 20 when we buy the Salesforce org. But if we want to have, I mean, if we have any needs to write more dynamic dashboards, we have to basically purchase additional license, additional dynamic dashboards. So that costs a little more money. So the scenarios where so there is a marketing team, so they want to see different reports, and then there is sales team wants to see all the opportunity data, and the customer service team, they only want to see the cases. So all these can be dynamic ones, and if the requirements are becoming bigger and bigger, you will need more dynamic dashboards. So, I mean, when we write reports as admin, so there is something called folder where we store all these reports and dashboards. Obviously, we don't want all the reports and dashboards to be seen by everybody. And let's say we want customer service to see only their customer service related dashboards and reports. Same with marketing, if you want to control, and same with sales, if you want to control all those visibility, you create those folders. So you assign the sharing, saying, okay, hey, this one only should be seen by sales, or you create public group and you assign those public groups to the sharing settings for those folders. That way only those guys, whoever you give access, will be able to see those folders. And there is no separate sharing for reports and dashboards. Basically, it is all controlled through the folders. Yeah, so multiple folders reports can be saved under same report, I mean same folder. That folder will be saved by the public group. That's how you do the sharing. Same with the dashboards. So you put multiple things in one dashboard, multiple reports in one dashboard, and then the dashboard will be stored in a folder. And the access works little differently. So as we have seen, any record, when we create a record, like opportunity. So when we give opportunity access, let's say there is a John Smith is the owner of the opportunity. Typically, John Smith manager automatically gets access to John Smith's records, and above the directors and VPs and everything works similarly. But whereas for dashboards, so if we give somebody that doesn't, let's say if we give John Smith some access, that won't give access to for the dashboard to the John Smith's manager automatically. So that one typically we give role and subordinate, you assign the access on the top level, and also at that time you say, okay, so I want to give the sales VP and anybody underneath him should be able to see. That's how you do the sharing setting for the dashboard and report folders. So, I mean, let's look into the system. So how to create some reports and dashboards. So what Alison is saying, so she wants to see that my team's opportunity. So the critical things here, so she wants to see her team's opportunities, and also that are won, and also that are won in this year. So there are three key things here. She wants a report, only her team, and also this opportunity, and one and this year. So let's see how we can create those kind of reports. So obviously everything has to start under the reports folder, and you just go create a new report. And since she said, okay, opportunities, the first thing that we need to pick is the report type. This is the one I mentioned. Since Salesforce by standard opportunity object came, so we have to look for opportunity type. So this is the template that I initially mentioned. So we just picked opportunity. Once we pick that one, so she also mentioned she cares only about one opportunities. So this is all opportunities, and this is all argued. So let's say if a marketing team creates some opportunity, she doesn't want those. She wants only the opportunities that are created by her team. So my team's opportunities, we can say that. And also we know that she is a VP of global sales, so we can select this guy. And here, so this is where Alison Wheeler comes in, and we can select that one. I mean, this typically we don't need to do that by just giving my team's opportunity, whoever is running, so it will show. But whereas if her team also wants to run the same report and see the same thing, so this is better way to do that. So Alison Wheeler, so we select that one. And she also wants the fiscal year. I mean, she wants the opportunities that are being closed this year. So that is second requirement. So one, we started with opportunity and her team's opportunity, and close date is current year. And the opportunity status, and she only cares about closed ones. So those are all the things that she wanted, and here she has the bare minimum information. And when anybody wants us to ask, when anyone asks for a report, we need to ask a couple of things. I mean, what is the filter criteria? So like, okay, how exactly she asked, and also we need to ask, okay, what are the fields that you want to see on the report? Let's say we refresh this one. And let's run this one. So I mean, here it didn't show any results because I am running the report and we set Alison Wheeler. I am nowhere under Alison Wheeler team, so that's why it is not showing. But let's say we still go ahead and save this one, and we will log in as Alison Wheeler, and we can run this report one more time. So so I'm just saying Alison Wheeler. Okay, so and here is the report folder. So let's say we create a all folders. So let's create an folder here, and let's call this one as sales. Sales reports. Okay, so we select this folder, and now we created a report, and we stored the report under sales reports folder, and we save this guy. And now let's go back to this folder, and we need to give the access to Alison Wheeler because we are system admin, we have more access than her. So this is where all those folders, and there is this sales folder. And now we need to share this folder with, let's say Alison Wheeler. And maybe if we want to give access to all her subordinates also, I mean, this is the option that we need to select. And now we select Alison Wheeler is sales VP. See, I think it's sales operations. Let's see her role. When we can give manage access, I mean the access, what it does, if we give edit access, potentially they can edit those reports under that one. So I just want to make sure Alison Wheeler is on the sales operations. Let's access her from here. So the way you see it is on the user record, you will see this thing. So this is the one I was looking for. So we gave a wrong one. So right now, the way we give access, Alison Wheeler won't even get it because we shared with a role that is a level below her. So to see that, so potentially we can also go to role hierarchy here. So we know VP. So right here we know Alison Wheeler is there. Yeah, I mean there are multiple ways to see these users. I mean, from user you can access roles. From roles you can access role hierarchy. So I'm just showing you both. So yeah, so VP role and Alison Wheeler is there, and somewhere the sales operation director, I believe this is the one we gave. Since we gave it here for the report folder access, and as I said, the access will trickle down to the employee from the top to bottom. Since we gave to this role, this user won't have access. So that's why we need to go fix that one first. VP, and we need to select these roles. VP of global sales and sales ops. And let's give for VP manager access. I mean, the way we give, so everybody will have manager access. Typically, we won't give that kind of manage access. So for now, that is fine. So now we know Alison Wheeler, we gave access. Let's log in as Alison. And actually, let's go to the folders. And now she sees that sales reports folder. I mean, if we don't give access, she won't even see this thing. So let's go to this guy, and now we see the top that report that we created. Let's see. Teams opportunities closed one. Yeah, okay. So for now, let's remove that user and let's clear the selection, the Alison Wheeler one. So let's run this one more. Yeah. So now, I mean, all these users reporting. So as you see here, so they are all US sales reps, and these guys are EMEA one. Let's look at the role hierarchy. So yeah, so basically since she is VP and even EMEA, so should be reporting to her. That's why we are seeing the other folks also. I mean, other folks EMEA opportunities also. I mean, these are all the different records, and she is seeing the US sales reps opportunities and also the EMEA opportunities, and she can see all that information at one place. So let's save this change. So that's how we do the reports. So let's go back to her requirements. So basically, I would like to see a report showing all my team's opportunities that have been won this year. So we kind of got all the stuff taken care. And she also said, okay, I want to show all the open opportunities organized by sales rep. So this is where the group by and those things come handy. So let's go back. I mean, let's create. I mean, now since I gave manage access for her, so potentially she can save reports under the same folder. And so I mean, the naming conventions may help by looking at the reports. I mean, if at all there are hundreds of reports, if we write reports in such a way that, okay, if they show what that report is going to do by name, so that always helps for business to pick up. Otherwise, they would be creating a lot of reports. I mean, this is very common problem. You create, I mean, you will see thousands and thousands of reports in any organization, because they can't find a report, and typically they would go and create. It is very easy for writing report, as you have seen, and everybody is tempted to go and create those reports by themselves if we don't follow the naming convention. So now her question is, she wants to see all the open opportunities, the second one, and they just see by sales rep. So now, so the opportunity status, she wants only open ones. So let's change that guy. And she doesn't care when that opportunity is about to close. So let's set that one to all time. And she is not even care about her team. So she wants to see across the all opportunities. So, I mean, these are the various filters that you would be playing with. And also she said, okay, she wants to group this by opportunity owner. So that, I mean, let's see. So now we got all the open opportunities, and you can see all these opportunities by, I mean, whoever is the user. And let's say if she wants to see how much is the total amount, so we can also say, let's see. So now it is adding the total amounts also. So let's say we say, we don't need to do this thing. Let's remove the thing. Let's add the field by going back. Yeah, again, so there are all the fields that we created on the object would automatically come here. And if you want to add any fields, you can simply go, I mean, either you can look on those fields, and you can either drag that field, so that will come automatically, or you can simply add that field here. And the report automatically won't refresh if you want to see that information immediately. So you just refresh it, and the column typically, I mean, the recent column that we add would go all the way to the site. So let's run this one more time. And this is a summary report. And if at all, as you see here, I mean, it is grouping all these opportunities. So there are 2 opportunities for Anjana, and maybe 10 opportunities, and you will see those counts here. And how much is the total amount, all that stuff you will see. And also, as you see here on the right, so it is Salesforce automatically calculating how much this I mean, opportunity owner has open pipeline. So this user has 3 million, this user has 3, and maybe this user has 6 million. And if you want to see that information, so I mean, if you don't care about the individual thing, and typically the managers would want to see how much each user has open pipeline, you just remove that detailed one, and you see that information. And here on the top, it is already showing us how much is the total open pipeline that the company has. So those are the things. I mean, when Allison comes in, so she's, I mean, she can easily check, okay, how much is open pipeline, how much the team is already closed, all that stuff. It is very easy to report those things. Are we good so far? So then, so she is also asking, I mean, now the Connor Mackay, so I believe he's a, marketing user. So he wants to run a campaign, and he wants to run all the US, Northeast US accounts. So basically, I need to see a list of all New York, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania, New Jersey accounts that either have a prospect rating hard or annual revenue over 8 million. So he is asking, I mean, he doesn't care where, who owns that opportunity, because he is a marketing guy. So his team typically don't want any accounts. So, but they help selling the, the products for the company by creating some campaigns and all. So now, so since he wants to run a campaign, he wants to get the data. So he wants only Northeast US accounts, and on the account we have that billing state field where we are maintaining the state value, and we can use that one. We can write a filter. We can get all those accounts. And also he doesn't want all the accounts in the Northeast US. So he wants to focus only on the um, uh, high performing accounts. So basically either the prospect rating that are marked as hot, or the annual revenue is 8 million. So now let's go back and see those reports. Let's see this report here. I mean, since we are still logged in as Alison Wheeler, I mean, ideally we have to do it by ourselves. Since we gave, I mean, this user has some access, it is okay. So now, I mean, if you see here, the way I already did this one. So whenever we write accounts, I mean, this one we have to start with account object, and the report type we have to select account one. So that one you can see it here. So this is the account reports. This is the guy. So and so we don't want to filter any accounts. I mean, by who owns that account. That is this criteria. So based on the owner, so whether you want to control. So because we don't want to control by owner, and we want to control by state. So that is the billing state. So he said New York, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. And also he wants the account annual revenue is 8 million, or the prospect rating is hard. So if you see here, I mean, all the, by default, whenever we create these filters, it automatically comes with 1 and 2 and 3. So these are the filters, and this is the higher level filter, basically created data all time. So we don't need to put any filters, they won't allow. And this is the additional filters that we are adding. So state we added, if we don't add this one, so typically, I mean, by default, it comes like this guy. So we are just changing that one to, I mean, by default, it comes like that whenever you add a filter. So all we are doing is we are changing this guy. So because he said either this one or that one, that's why we are writing this filter. So that's that guy. So we add filter and we got this, and also just to make sure we add this annual revenue, and also let's add the prospect rating as a column. So we go here. So let's add the rating, prospect rating, and we got that last column. So we don't see it here. So just refresh this guy. That field will come. And now let's run this. I mean, save it. And let's run this guy. So if you see this report, I mean, this one is less than 7 million, but the account rating is hard. So since he wants us to give him all the Northeast accounts, I mean, that's why this states, if you see, that is matching our requirement. And so since it is, in this case, it is hot, so that's why it is here. And so here it is, even though it is cold rating, but it has more annual revenue. So that's why it is giving all these accounts. Now he can simply take this data, and so potentially you can export it into some Excel if he wants, and either CSV or if you want to change the format, you can change the format, and you can export that one into Excel, and he can do whatever the campaign that he wants to run. And and subscribe potentially whenever you want to subscribe. And if the user says, okay, hey, I want to get this report every month, I mean, this report may not make much sense, but let's say if they want, if they write some report, and if they want to get that report every weekly to their emails, we can do that. We can run this report every Monday, I mean, all weekdays, potentially every early morning, 7 a.m. If we want to send that email, we can send this email, and we can attach this um, report basically as Excel format. And then that way the user don't need to log into Salesforce to get this information. All these reports will be sent to the user directly to their inbox, and they can potentially talk to, decide, make some decisions based on the data. And also sometimes, if it is some critical report, let's say if the open pipeline is going less than $10 million or $100 million. So if they want to get that one, so potentially now it is $123 million. So let's say if they care about this guy every morning, they want to get so less if it is less than $100 million, they want to get this report at that time. So every day the report will run, but it won't send the report data or email to those users, but only it will send the information when it is meeting this criteria. So this will become very useful for the users, I mean, whoever wants this data. And, subscribe. Yeah, so I mean, since if at all I log in as myself, and if I try to do it, it will also allow me to set who should be okay to add other recipients to this. Make sure the report is saved in shared folder. Yeah, so this is still in private folder. That's why it is not giving an option to add other people right now. Whoever is creating the report, so that's the only those people will be able to get this report. Let's fix that one. So right now this is a public report, private report. Let's save this one, and let's go to edit. Let's change it to global, that sales folder. This is the private folder. This is where it was complaining. So since
I'm not sure. I think you logged in as Alison Miller, right? You are not in your account.
Sorry?
At present, you logged in as Alison Wheeler, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Alison Wheeler, but the thing is, this is a private folder. Even if I log in as myself, I will show you that one, and then I will fix that guy. So since I am system admin, I should be able to see that one. If not, I have to find that report. Let's see. Mm, I don't think this is the one. Yeah, this is a different report. Yeah, let's start subscribing this one. I mean, this one is still in private folder, right? Yeah, this one is still private report, and if I want to subscribe to this report, okay, yeah, since okay, let's see. Yeah, let's. I mean, since I am system admin, it is allowing me to change. Okay, no, this is only reporting. Okay, yeah. So I mean, this is the one I was looking at. So the same problem that we have seen with Allison, we still have the same problem. So if we want to send this report to other recipients, we need to share this report in a public folder. So since it is still in private, let's go change that guy. I mean, anyway, we want to just see the concepts. This is fine. First thing is we need to change the folder. So let's select that same sales folder one. Yeah, sales reports. So now if I go back and try to subscribe and potentially this, sorry. Yeah, now that error message or warning message is gone. So we can say, so whoever is the recipient. So now we can say, I mean, whether you want to send all the users or maybe you want to send this one only to Allison. That's how you can say, you can send this email to that user. Whenever, I mean, if we add those conditions and all, only when that condition becomes true, then only this one will send an email. And obviously we can control the schedule. And I mean, if at all we want to run this report, we can change those. That becomes handy. If at all this one is show me my accounts or my team's accounts, if we select that kind of filter, so running the report as a different user will be helpful. For now, it is, since it is all accounts, so that one won't have much impact. So I mean, that's how we do these things. So, I mean, if at all we want to group these ones, so we can simply group these ones again by industry. I think I have another report. So the grouping, so I mean, if you see this one, this is straightforward report. If we want to group these ones, so all we have to do is add a column, I mean, as this thing here. So that one will group all these accounts. And there are some entertainment, hospitality, insurance, and that's how you see the data. So that's how you can, I mean, last time we group some opportunities by opportunity owner. Now we group these by accounts by industry. And I mean, if we want to add any subtotals, obviously we can do. I mean, right now it is already subtotal. So for technology, we have 2 accounts, and there is a subtotal of 15 million. And if you don't want to see these individual records, all we have to do is just take this file, and that will show. And I mean, this is another interesting one. So basically, the CEO is asking, okay, so I want to see a report who, I mean, there is a report that is showing who logged in this week, but he wants a report who didn't log into Salesforce. As we talked about, Salesforce licenses are expensive. So he cares for that. He wants to know who is not logging into Salesforce, and he wants to see whether they still need access, uh, or we can get the licenses back so that we can assign those licenses to somebody else. So that's what he wants to know. And this is a little tricky report. And so the users. So this report is done on the user object. As we have seen, whenever a user logs in, on the user login history, we can see the user has logged in. And here, the way we did, so obviously this report is done using the report type users. And so on the filters, basically last login, initially we said the global filters, I said all time, and we only care about active users. I mean, if the user is not if the user is inactive, we already got the license back, so we don't need to worry about that. That's why we apply this one for all the active users who we assign license. And now, so last login, we said, okay, sometimes the user may, we created this org maybe 3 weeks ago. And I mean, I'm the only one that logging into those org, or sometimes if at all I have reset password for mobile user sake or something, I may be, I mean, some other, I may be logging in as other user. Otherwise, pretty much this org I am only using. And we have 55 license, we have to get those other users. So that's our task. And he also wants to know, I mean, sometimes the users may be periodically accessing the system. And so if anyone is logging in, so he wants to know the user who is logging in the current week or last 7 days. So if somebody logs in maybe 7 days ago and they did not log in now, so he wants to find those people also. That way he can proceed. I mean, he can give that list to maybe the directors and managers, ask them to verify whether the users need access. I mean, that's how you do this report. And so if I say, if I remove any of these filters, immediately you see this login as field. This guy, I mean, this is very important thing. So when we write on the date fields, so you have this, you can either select value or, I mean, since I selected default, I mean, blank value, basically it is giving all those last login as blanks. And also here, this is a very important thing. And less than last 7 days, you can say this kind of thing: last 7 days, yesterday, I mean today, last week, next 30 days kind of thing. And it Salesforce supports those kind of thing. I mean, the advantage with this one, whereas if you say, okay, use calendar date, and if you write a report, and if you say, okay, I want to start from last 7 days, means anything that is less than this guy 15th. And this also works, but the problem is when we run the report, let's say maybe next week, and since we hard coded this thing, and it will say, okay, this only looks at this field, and it is already 2 weeks back data. So but he only wants last 7 days, or I mean, he wants to exclude whoever logged in this week, but he wants the list of the people either did not log in or logged in 7 days back. So that's why these kind of things, I mean, doesn't work. And so those dynamic ones automatically setting those dates, that is what we need to use. And if, I mean, even if he says, okay, hey, give me the list, and at that time, if we write the report with a static date, it will work for that day. But if again, if he comes back and asks one more time, we need to remember, okay, we set the date on a static date. Now we need to change the date and run it. And typically, if you are the one that runs this one, you remember that one. But if there is another person that comes to run the report, and they have to change that thing, that is little painful. That's why it's our job to make this little dynamic, so that we don't. I mean, the others need to make some changes. So that is this guy. So working with filters. Yeah. So let's look at a little bit of the dashboards now. So I mean, now we know, okay, how to add formulas, how to add, I mean, we didn't look at formulas, but so when we go here, so you have an option to add formula fields. The formula fields would work with the summary things. Let's make this one as summary, one of those fields. Let's say profile. Okay, let's add this kind of group. I mean, you see here, this one is not enabled. So immediately once we change this to summary field, summary report, immediately you get this one is enabled. And if you want to add any field, I mean any formula, so potentially you can write some formulas here. Yeah. So I mean, we can add some, I mean, whatever we have seen in the validation rules and those formula field creation, those, I mean, pretty much all those are available here to use. And so if you want to count some opportunities, or maybe if you have to put in some different conditions, you can do all that stuff here. And I'll send some reports, I mean, the trailhead modules that can leverage this formula fields and all. You can play with those a little later. Yeah, I mean, these are all the fields that you can leverage and you can put bring onto the report. And sometimes if you want, I mean, even though this report is user report, if you want some other extra information, you can get it here. And if it is account information, potentially you have different fields that you can use for the reports. Based on the report type that we select, these fields and everything will change. And since it is standard Salesforce, they actually brought all these fields to different sections. And that's how, I mean, typically when you write report, custom report types, so you may have to, I mean, it's ideal if you can add those fields into sections and all. That will be easy for users to use. So let me quickly show you the report types. So this is where you create any reports. So let's say if you want some accounts with opportunities and all, typically all the standard report types, when you are writing some reports with cross objects, let's say you want accounts with opportunities, you may have some report type already available to you. So let's say we look at so if you see this opportunity account, I mean, typically you will get opportunities with accounts. And so sometimes if you want to get accounts without opportunities, you can put in some filter. Basically, here if you see account, yeah, account name is already here. So let's say if you run this report, pretty much all these opportunities will have accounts. So sometimes what they ask is the requirement will be like this. Okay, hey, we have maybe 100,000 accounts in our organization. We want to find an account that don't have any opportunity associated with that. So typically, since we are writing a report on opportunities, and it won't get us the other way. So if there is an opportunity, then only it will show that opportunity, but it won't say from accounts to opportunity. It won't give you that information. So for those kind of reasons, you may want to build some report type. When you are writing this report type, so this is where you select primary object and then the secondary object accounts. So typically with or without. So the default one always gives us the opportunities with or without accounts, but this one we want a little differently. That's why we are writing this guy. So here, let's say we want to store it under opportunities on the category, and typically for end users to see, we have to set the deployment status to deployed, then only the end users will see. Otherwise, only people with setup access, they will be able to see it. So we wrote this one. This is where we select that secondary object. So now we select opportunity. So here, I mean, this is where, I mean, you see the intersection here. So there are accounts on the left hand side, there are opportunities on the right hand side. If by default, it will give only the intersection one. We already have this one. So if we say this guy, basically we are getting these accounts with opportunities and without opportunities. Basically all accounts we are getting it. Otherwise earlier we are only getting opportunities. Okay, sorry. So now once we create this opportunity, the report type, we need to add some fields. I mean, by default, it will bring all the fields. But if at all we want to add more other fields, and if you want to create a section, so this is the one you create different sections and you add those. So right now there are two sections, accounts and opportunities. And if we want to add another section, so potentially you can add a section. And you can add some fields here. And also if you want to bring any additional information, so you can do that here. So let's so on the right hand side, so let's say there are account fields, and if you want to get some account from account to account owner additional information, if you want to get anything, so you can get that information also here. I mean, that's where these reports will come handy. So you cannot do all these things from the list views. So that means, I mean, from one object to another object traversing, and that information, showing that information to the end users is only possible through reports, not with other options. I mean, we can write custom lightning components and all, but this is the easiest declarative way. Same for opportunities. If we have opportunity and if you want to get any opportunity related information, opportunity owner or maybe other information, you can just get that one from here. Basically, opportunity owner, role, profile, all that stuff. So let's save this guy. So quickly go back to reports. So now we deployed that report. We set that one. So let's look at this report one more time. Yeah, see, this is the one that we just created accounts with or without opportunity. So select this guy. And now, so we have these accounts, all accounts it will bring. And so right now, let's select all accounts and create a date also. Let's select all time. So for now, let's take this guy, let's run. You see here, it is giving this account and it is saying, okay, this account doesn't have any opportunities. But the requirements would be typically, we want only accounts that don't have opportunities, not like this one. So that's where we have some cross object filter once we have it here. So here, here, so add cross filter. So accounts without opportunities. So if you select this guy, now if we refresh, so you get all those ones. So the outliers. So with this, it is easy for management to go after those accounts that don't have any open opportunities. So potentially they can follow up with each, and by now they can go create opportunities and they can follow up with those account related contacts and those accounts. So that's how we can make the life of these sales guys easy. So, we have seen a lot of things about the reports. Let's quickly go through some dashboards. And also on the reports, you can add the charts. Let's pick yes, something. So let's group these things by state. Let's group this by state. So now you can add a chart. So there are multiple ways to you can add a chart. So if you want to add a chart, these either by record count, or how many opportunities you have. So that's how it is showing. So or maybe how much is the open volume. And if we go this column one. So basically it will say, okay, how much volume, whereas here you have to look through this thing closely to know the information, whereas here, so you can directly get this information straight on this thing. And now, here you can see 20 million, so right there, so basically they can easily say how much volume it is. And again, so there are multiple ways. If you want, you can use the donut chart. So now it will basically show all this together. Here now you have to basically hover on this to see that information. So simply by selecting this guy, immediately you can see the numbers, how much volume each state has. And if you want to see percentage, basically with respect to other states, we can see that information. So now we got all these reports. I mean, we know how to add some charts and all. So let's say if we want to have any dashboard, I mean, dashboard is nothing but a collection of reports. So here, I mean, this is a support dashboard. It is showing, okay, I mean, they created this report first. I mean, see this guy. So there is a total open cases by agent, and it simply shows, okay, how many cases. I mean, this user has 5 cases open. Typically, it is easy for the management. I mean, all they have to do is just come see this dashboard and go after the employees. And typically in a customer service scenario or maybe sales scenario, everybody will have stand-ups and they have meetings with their subordinates. And just by pulling up these kind of dashboards, it is easy for them to go through, I mean, to talk to those employees. I mean, otherwise, if we have 10 reports, so they have to go run those 10 individual reports, and then they have to talk to those guys. Whereas here, it is very straightforward. So you see the information right there. And also you can compare the data with other employees, and if at all there are any coaching opportunities that the manager has, and they can go after those things with that individual. And here, I mean, the same thing, I mean, everything is case by cases. You have the same report, I mean, same data from the backend. We are slicing and dicing that information with respect to, I mean, by using different categories. So here we are looking at agents. Okay, how many open cases by agents? Here we are looking at the same cases by product. So what product? I mean, how many cases are there for desktop? How many for the laptop, printer? Those kind of things. And again here, total open cases by agent by status. And pretty much the same thing. So here, these are all open cases. So that when I say open, so it can be in progress, it can be follow-up required, those kind of things. And here we have different statuses here. So, yeah, typically, I mean, you bring in that status column also. That way you will see, okay, what exactly is the status in. So so that's how you do these reports. I mean, writing a new dashboard is also very straightforward. You just create a dashboard. Again, you better put it in the public folder. These are dashboard folders. Or maybe you can create. Yeah, so all we do is, I mean, this is how they view the framework as a grid. You just pull that reports. Now, if you want to pull this report, so you just select this guy, accounts by industry. And by default, I mean, we added already the dashboard, I mean, the chart, and it is asking us to, okay, whether you want to use this guy. I mean, whether you can take it, or you can basically say, okay, no, I don't want to use the way by default, I want to change it here. I mean, these kind of things you can do. You can just add this guy. And if you want to see, okay, maybe if you want to give this one as more width, so you can do that one here. I mean, since this is a pie chart one, you don't need a lot of space for this one. Whereas if you have any the other charts, the horizontal column chart and all, so you may need more space for those, but this one should be okay here. So, I mean, this is how you can adjust the space. And if you want to add one more component, you can simply go bring this guy. So, I mean, this one is simply a table report. That's why there is no graph for this one. So this one can be a table report. I mean, that's how by default it is presenting us, and we'll simply take that guy. And I mean, since if we want to see more information column wise, so we can just add this guy. I mean, we can expand this one. So this is how, I mean, immediately you will see that information. You can play with the different options. I mean, different types of dashboards. I mean, the charts that you want to use based on your requirements, and you can add them, and it is easy for any user to come and see this thing. And again, so we talked about the dynamic dashboard and static dashboard. So this one, whoever runs it, they will see this information viewing as Srikanth. So this is where we want this guy to be more dynamic one. So let's yeah. So here let the dashboard viewer choose whom they want to view this one, and so we select that guy. So now let's save this one. So now there is an option to change. So immediately, let's say I want to run this report as Remy. So I can just change that user. And so immediately, I mean, that user either don't have access to these accounts or opportunities, or the report itself is in a shared folder that the user doesn't have access. I mean, so because of those things, I mean, that's how we can control the visibility also for this guy. And so let's say if we see Alison Wheeler, I'm hoping this user has access. Yeah. So now at least one report, Alison Wheeler, I mentioned, I believe this is the one we placed under her thing, and the user is able to access. Whereas this one, I believe we saved this one into a different folder, or maybe it is private one. So that's why this user is not able to see this one. So let's say, I mean, let's understand why this is failing. Most probably this is a private report, I think. Yeah, so this is under private. So let's select this one to sales reports. We know Alison has access to that folder. And now let's save this guy. Let's go back to the dashboard, try to run it with Alison. So I'm still logged in as myself. So once the dashboard comes, so I will say, okay, I want to run this report as Alison. Yeah, so now we get this one, especially when we have reports that are that have filters with my team. These reports will dynamically change the data, and I mean, based on the running user access, the report will dynamically change. So that's where that powerful feature of the dynamic dashboard comes in, and that's why the companies might spend little more money, because it is going to add a lot of productivity to the users. So that's about the reports and dashboards. I know this is quite some information. So if you play with this thing, so I mean, you'll feel little comfortable. But in daily work life, so you would be either writing reports, or maybe you would be working with business users to troubleshoot the report accesses, or maybe the typically they might come up with different kind of requirements. Based on those, you would be writing some report types and enable the users for their business functionality. Yeah, there will be a lot of things that you may need to play. So I mean, but this is high level. Yeah, I mean, this should give you enough to get started with reports. So okay, yeah, I know I talked quite a lot without any stop. So any questions? Yeah, if not, I think we can meet on Monday. Sorry, Tuesday, and we can go over the automation part. I mean, that one is going to be very important, like object one. So you would be doing a lot of work there. I mean, most of the reporting dashboard stuff, we can even give it to business, but the automation stuff, potentially the admins would be doing. Yeah, let's meet on Tuesday and try to see, and maybe I will give you some time to for you to work on, and after that, maybe after a week we can regroup. Okay. Hi. Thank you, guys.
Bye, good night.
Bye.